2023, the year of the baby bulls, about to begin with a bang, with one of the most sloppy of toppy signals just firing off today for the first time since September 16th of 2022. Moon boys worldwide right now are clenching their cheeks, squeezing their cheeks, and begging for maximum dumpage not to come flowing out like a bellyache after eating one too many half-price apps at the local Applebee's. But what if I told you that this time was different? Would I be lying, or would I just be puffing one too many puffs of hopium? Right now, the price of Bitcoin is closer than ever, on the verge of doing something completely gastronomical. And once you see this webisode, things will never be the same. Secret of the channel, make sure to like, share, service, absolute time-sensitive alerts. And without any further ado, let's jump into these charts, as truly we are on the verge of something ginormous. With roughly a week until our next CPI print, things are pretty big a lot of the times in crypto, right? Things often get pretty big, but right now things almost couldn't get any bigger. That's why this is so big. So if we take a look at Bitcoin's chart, things are looking crazy, but specifically with the SPX, guys, we have just gotten a bearish cross today with the 21-day moving average slipping its tip below the 50-day moving average for the very first time since the middle of September. And we've seen this happen the entire year of 2022. We saw it happen 3 major times, and every single time a large dump and a new low ensued. And right now, after the most recent rejection that we got on the SPX, right here, back on December 1st, and then ultimately, even though we kind of set a little bit of a higher high slightly 2 weeks later on like December 13th, even though we squeaked our peak, we slipped our tip above this long-term descending level of resistance. We ended up getting rejected. We ended up getting dumped on, and now the second nail in the coffin of the further continuation of this rejection is occurring right now. So that is dumpage, and the real question is now, as you can see, this dumpage really literally began in January of 2022. The timing is quite odd. I mean, the stock market literally peaked like the very last day of 2021, and the very first week of 2022, it has only been dumping for the stock market. So that means naturally the crypto and Bitcoin as well have been getting dumped on also. And that happened the entire year of 2022. And now, as we start off in 2023, are we about to see a continuation of this? And it looks as though, at least for the immediate short term, that seems to be the option. That seems to be the outcome we're about to be witnessing here, right? We just got this bearish cross, literally, like right now. We're getting this cross right now as we open up the stock market for the first time of 2023. And it looks very clear so far what we're going to be in for, as we've been talking about, for the beginning of 2023. And I mean, also we've got earnings, I believe, for Tesla yesterday or the day before, and Tesla is dumping on this news. So that is continuing to dump. Bitcoin itself, let's be honest, isn't really doing much. It's actually holding up a little bit better than some of these other assets, but you can see this is a 10-day chart. Bitcoin is literally stuck sideways since November 7th. Basically, and again, this was only because of SBF, this candle right here. So because of FTX collapsing. So Bitcoin has been trading sideways since then, and it hasn't really been affected too much by any negativity in the broader markets. It's basically just been sitting right around 16,000. In my opinion, it's still a little undervalued. Whereas if the whole FTX collapse wouldn't have happened, Bitcoin would still be sitting right at about 20K. And now we've just been sitting a leg lower than that, around 16K. But ultimately, we do see, even with Bitcoin on some of these longer-term charts, the RSI, we have been breaking some of this downtrending resistance that we have been suffering with, going actually a lot further back than 2022. Right? I mean, the RSI kind of peaked at the very beginning of 2021, so quite a long time ago. 2 years ago, we've been in a downtrending RSI for Bitcoin, and it's very likely, in my opinion, that as we're shifting slowly out of this, as we have been for about the past 2 months, I mean, that's what's kind of confusing to me is Bitcoin itself, the technicals. There are so many things that could highlight that this looks pretty strong, but just because of the broader market and the SPX, the really only option for Bitcoin to actually have a strong resurgence and even a strong relief is decoupling at this point. I mean, I think that's like the only option. So, and that kind of makes it a little boring, but also very, very predictable. Whereas, Bitcoin is just going to do exactly what the stock market does, unless there is some sort of decoupling, which there are absolutely, technically, a lot of signs that is a reality. Meaning, if Bitcoin would shoot up above 20K tomorrow and the stock market still looks like garbage, I think there's a valid case for that. I think that there are plenty of technicals you could look back on, and even on-chain metrics and a lot of other things, honestly, pretty much every bottom signal that you could look back on and say, okay, yeah, I mean, that was overdue for Bitcoin. Bitcoin needed that. So where it's kind of like one of those I told you so's. And I think, looking in the future, I think that's a realistic scenario that is not honestly very surprising, considering the current position of Bitcoin, which is significantly below very critical support that, again, was only brought there because of the FTX collapse. So, with that being said, though, it would be silly to say that there is any decoupling yet. We haven't really gotten any evidence of that, other than Bitcoin's volatility being historically low, with the SPX kind of being a little more volatile. Honestly, I mean, Bitcoin's down 0.18% today, and the stock market is down 0.4%. So, I mean, the stock market, even on a day like today, is down a little bit more than Bitcoin. Bitcoin hasn't been doing anything. It's been historically insanely not volatile, which is not usually the case. In fact, we've seen that trend. That's one trend that has developed over 2022, is that Bitcoin has gotten less and less volatile, which is completely the opposite of historically what Bitcoin has done. But again, I mean, looking at Bitcoin on the weekly chart, still we're holding at some of these very key levels. We are still within, I mean, we can even just extend this down since time has elapsed and nothing has happened. Still just holding around the $16,000 level. The potential, I personally still think, for a quick upside move, even if I think the chances of seeing a new all-time high in 2023 for Bitcoin is very low. I don't think there's really a good chance to be made, a good case to be made for that. I personally think, and I've been saying this for a long time, I personally think that the case for Bitcoin to reclaim 20K and even the mid $30,000 levels this year of 2023 is very lopsided to being possible. Basically meaning it's very likely, in my opinion. Now, I don't think that's possible the first 2 months of 2023. Absolutely not is really what I'm thinking. But towards even the middle of Q2 or even very beginning of Q3, I think it's much, and even I think it's possible even before that. But I do absolutely think that some relief is due. And again, all it takes is some positive CPI, which we already have a couple months of momentum built in already. We already have seen a few months of CPI coming in better than expected, so that's good. But it really has not started to impact risk on assets like Bitcoin and even really the stock market that much so far. But with that, is still important to follow the DXY, which is still holding on this support, even though we've broken this uptrend. It's been 2 months since we've been falling out of it and broken it. And it's been 3 months, really, since we had a high for the DXY. So it has been lower highs for the DXY. And I think that trend is going to continue. Again, like I said, I think these levels are absolutely big levels where we make big pit stops on the way down. And even possible we come up and see a higher bounce for the DXY. But ultimately, I think the trend for the DXY over the next couple of years is going to not be to the upside. We spent the last few years going to the upside for the DXY. And I think that the DXY has run out of a little bit of juice here. But again, Bitcoin's sideways trading cannot last forever, and it truly has been a very, 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 very prolonged sideways crab market for Bitcoin. Will 2023 start off with a bang? I think that it's very possible that the answer to that question is yes. So guys, the channel, make sure to turn the absolute time-sensitive alerts. Take advantage of absolutely massive deposit bonuses, over 30,000 just with Bybit alone. Tens of thousands also with BitGet and Femex below as well. If you're interested in trading, there are tutorials popping up, and they were popping up throughout the video as well. Takes just a few minutes to sign up, and some of these bonuses, literally, you just create an account, put in a password, and you get free USDT deposit bonuses. Without any further ado, that's for me.